What is up, all of my horror fanatics out there? Welcome back to the Late Night Frights. I'm the Late Night Frights horror leader, the Jay Sloan or Jordan, back here to do another video for you. And as always, guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Last week we did a theme, and if you haven't checked that out yet, please go do so. It was a great week overall. We did our top 10 favorite horror sequels of all time theme, and there were some missed videos, so I do apologize for that. But we are back on track this week, and we are doing horror battles. Now, the two horror films that I chose to battle an original versus remake, because I haven't done that in a while. And I know I've talked about at least one, if not both of these films on the channel before, but that was in the past. And, you know, opinions can change throughout time. So these are two horror revenge films, I guess you could say. Two disturbingly brutal films. And, yeah, I'm going to dive in. And the first one here is I Spit on Your Grave versus the remake of I Spit on Your Grave. Okay, so I'm going to start off by reviewing the original 1978 I Spit on Your Grave, which was directed by Mir Zarchi. I don't know how to pronounce the last name, and for that I do apologize. Written and directed. This one is also starring, Camille Keaton, who plays Jennifer Hills, which is the female lead in the film. And you guys know how we do things. I'm going to be reviewing both films very briefly, and then I'll battle them to the death. Now, the problem with reviewing both of these films is because it's very similar to, let's say, the Psycho remake, where it's very, very similar in terms of story and plot. There's not a lot that changes. There's different kills, a different similar setting, but different ways they do things. It's not completely transferred into the remake exactly how it is in the original, but the plots are very, very similar, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the original and a little bit of time talking about the remake. So, like I said, the original is made in 1978, and I would say this is probably one of the most controversial horror films of all time, up there maybe with Cannibal Holocaust and films like a Serbian film as being controversial, especially for its time. 1978, you got to look the same year Halloween came out, and if you compare Halloween to I Spit on Your Grave, it's a very, very different playground and a very different world. Halloween's a lot more tamed down than I Spit on Your Grave way. So this on the back here says this movie is an expression of the most diseased and perverted darker human natures, from Roger Ebert. Big surprise. It stands alone as one of the most controversial films ever made. This is a piece of cinematic history to witness for yourself and make your own decisions. So I'm going to go over the plot here. So, like I said, it stars Camille Keaton, who plays a girl named Jennifer Hills, I believe. Let me see if I'm correct. Jennifer Hills. An attractive, aspiring novelist, I guess you would say. She goes out into the country to write her first novel, and while going out there, she meets these really nice country guys at first. They seem really nice, you know, like I said, they're attentive to her, and they're doing things for her, and it starts off as a very friendly, relationship between all of them. And then it starts getting weird, and it moves into some touchy-feely kind of things, and you've got one character who goes over to fix her bathroom at one point, and he goes over and some things happen. He goes back and tells his friends, and he's one of the people in the group that's kind of special, and he goes back and he tells his friends, and they decide, we're going to get back at this girl for whatever she did to you. And it's a personal thing between them as well. It's not just because what she did to their friend. It's really just about what they want to do, and they find her, beautiful and attractive. So they go over and, through the woods, the scenes that everyone knows about, the notorious rape scenes. She gets raped several times in this movie. And the rape is what takes me out of the movie. I don't like rape scenes. I don't understand how people could like rape scenes. It was completely necessary for this film, I will say that. But it's one of those things I can't, I'll watch this movie every couple years, maybe a year, every couple years. But the rape scenes is very brutal and very disturbing, and the way they do it compared to the way they do it in the remake. In the original, they start off in the woods, and this might be a little bitty spoiler, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. They start off in the woods. They rape her once. They let her think she's getting away. They find her 5-10 minutes later in the woods, rape her again, and this continuously goes on for 15-20 minutes of the film, easily, maybe more, until it ends at her house. I mean, it's gang rape, it's brutality, it's assault. I mean, they think they killed this woman pretty much. They rape her and murder her, or try to murder her. Well, she doesn't die. And this is where the revenge plot or the revenge subgenre kind of kicks in to the horror, because it's very horrifying to see a woman get raped. I mean, that's very horrifying. And then seeing what she does to the guys is very, very brutal, but very justified. And that's one reason why I really like this film, is because it's not like she's helpless. At one point she is, but she gains her strength, and she becomes a pretty brutal, badass female character in this movie to do what she does to them, which, like I said before, is completely justified. Now, the acting in this movie was good. I felt so bad for her. She's just damaged. You can't really come back from that. You have to get your vengeance, and I see that in her, and she did a really, really good job. The guys who assaulted her and raped her, they did a good job portraying the characters that they had to portray. Even though it is sick, messed up, fucked up characters they had to portray, they had to do it, and they did a good job of it. The kills are brutal. 1978, there's a bathtub kill that I won't spoil that makes me cringe every single time I see it. They capitalized way more on it in this one than they did in the remake. Loved all the kills in this one. So, is it a brutal movie? Yes. Is it tolerable? Not for some people. I can definitely see some people watching this and having to turn it off. I can see that. For a hardcore horror fan like myself, like I said, I'm a hardcore horror fan. This is one that I can watch every couple years, maybe every year, every couple years, unless somebody really wants to watch it, which you never have somebody come over and say, let's watch I Spit in Your Grave. Looks like a fun film. It's one of those you kind of have to you don't really want to see, but it's one of those brutal horror movies that you will watch ever so often. And films such like The Human Centipede and The Human Centipede 2, and Part 3, and like I said, a Serbian film and things like that. I can't get into that. It's just not my style of horror film. This is one of the only more disturbing, brutal horror films that I have watched and can tolerate. And I do enjoy the film minus the rape stuff, which, like I said before, is necessary for this movie, because she gets, it is the revenge line. There is no vengeance to be had unless what they did to her was brutal, and they do, and she definitely gets them back tenfold. Although she's still going to be damaged afterwards. I mean, there's no other way you can say it or get around it. So that's my review over the original. Good directing, good acting, good plot, very messed up, but a good plot, good effects, good kills. Everything about this one I enjoy, minus the rape. So, I Spit in Your Grave, 1978. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the remake, but not too much, because you can pretty much talk about the original and the remake and talk about the same film. But there is a difference, and there is a pick of mine that I like better. So, remake, same story pretty much. A girl named Jennifer Hills, this time played by Sarah Butler. This is also a 2010 film directed by Stephen R. Monroe. Pretty much goes to write a novel, gets caught by these guys, seem really nice at first, track her to her house and rape her, beat her, think they kill her. They don't. She comes back and gets her vengeance. Now, there is some differences in this one, and I won't go into every single one, but the rape happens at the house, and it's not nearly as brutal as the original. That I will say. You can agree or disagree with me. I know there's some people who prefer the remake over the original. Now, it's not as brutal as the original, and that's good in a lot of ways. It happens at the house alone. I mean, it doesn't happen anywhere else but the house. It doesn't happen outside. It was more terrorizing to the mind in the original to see it start. They make her think she's getting away and then find her 10 minutes later in the woods, and it's over a course of 15 to 20 minutes in actual time that you're watching it. So, a little bit different things with there's a police officer. Sorry if I gave that away. There's a police officer. That was a little different. A few story changes, but basically you could tell they were going for to recapture the same feeling as the original. Now, it is very, very brutal when it comes to the kills. There's a kill where she puts, pretty much takes fish hooks and gets this guy's eyelids open, and the crows come down to eat his eyes. And that's the only kill I'll give away, but brutal shit. The girl who played Jennifer Hill, Sarah Butler, did a good job. I mean, you know, if you look at the original and the remake, there is a difference. They both felt very broken, though, you know, very damaged. And after a situation like that, they would have to be. So, but that's my review over the remake. I enjoyed the remake, but I also enjoyed the original as well. So now it's time to dive into the battle. Okay, so round one, kills. Which film do I think had a better body count and a better kill count? Which kills did I like better? So, you know, the kills were brutal in the remake. I'm going to say I preferred the kills and I Spit on Your Grave, the original, a little bit better than I did the remake, especially the last kill. You know, I won't spoil, but it made me cringe, and yeah, not going to say anything else about that. So round one goes to the original I Spit on Your Grave. Round two, story and originality. Which film do I think had a better story and was overall more original? Obviously, it's going to go to the original film, seeing as it was made in 1978. Remake was made in 2010. So obviously this one is more original, and it was a very ballsy film for its time. Like I said, 1978, you did not see things like this coming out much. I mean, you'd had your instances with Psycho being 1960, Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw Massacre being 1974. I mean, you have those instances, but this film was ballsy in doing what it did. It was very edgy. And you also had, you know, film coming out 2 years after this, Cannibal Holocaust in 1980. I mean, you had films. The 80s was the time, and I've talked about this before on Late Night Frights and on my personal channel. I won't get into a big discussion about it, but, you know, the 80s was the time to really shock you. It was the shock value to, you know, to get in your face and show you all the blood, guts, and gore they could cram down your throat and make you visually see and pretty much desensitize the audience. Now, 1978, though, you really didn't see too much like this, and it was a ballsy move and very original for its time. So, I Spit on Your Grave. The original gets round two. Round three, blood, guts, and gore. Which film do I think had better blood, guts, and gore, or had more blood, guts, and gore? Now, the original was very disturbing in the rape area, and then even in the kills, it, you know, was pretty gory. But I'm going to give the remake a round here since it doesn't have one, because it did step up a notch in terms of kills. I mean, the kills were very brutal. I mean, the one with the eyelids being, I mean, it was just gross, brutal. So yeah, I'm going to give round three to the remake. Round four, personal enjoyment and replayability. Which film do I personally enjoy more, and which film would I pop in right now and watch? I wouldn't pop either in right now and watch. I'm not in the mood for either of these movies at all. Don't really want to see them right now. Like I said, it's one of those movies you watch once a year, maybe once every couple years. But which one do I like better when I do watch them, when I have watched them in the past? The original, hands down. So, not much else to say. It's pretty obvious that the original wins this battle, everything I've said about it, and everything that I've rated it as. If I would have to go out of 5 stars in terms of horror revenge, I'm going to go 4.5, 4.6 out of 5. Really enjoyed this, like I said. Enjoyed the blood, guts, the gore. The revenge was my favorite part of the movie. I loved seeing her get her revenge back on these guys, and you know, she deserved it. It was very justified. So the original takes the final round, and there's no need to go any further. It wins this battle. It has defeated the remake, of course, and yeah, the original I Spit on Your Grave wins this horror battle. So thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below and tell me your personal opinion. Also, comment down below. Tell me what you think the most disturbing horror film you've ever seen. I don't think this is definitely one of the most disturbing, or I would say visual and brutal horror films that I've ever seen, but I don't know if I could rank it at number one. Please comment down below and tell me the most disturbing that you've ever seen. Which one do you prefer out of the original and the remake? I personally enjoy the original better. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, guys. Tomorrow Chris Brock will be battling 2 horror films of his choice, and that will continue throughout the week with all of our members. I'm the Jay Sloan. If you just watched Late Night Frights, comment, subscribe, and as always, guys, keep it horror. Peace.